I guess I'm just gonna start every video like this now. I just want to talk about something that is very important, especially when it comes to trading, because there's this thing that goes around in trading where sometimes you just don't trust yourself, which is basically when you don't have that full confidence in yourself. And I think it really comes from back testing and not back testing enough. But I'll explain my situation and then hopefully it could help you out in it. So basically for me, especially since I use standard deviations, and I haven't been using standard deviations for that long now, but since I've been using it, I've always thought that maybe I have it anchored at the wrong area, and having that thought process will have you overthinking or second guessing yourself and looking for validation from another trader who's maybe been trading that. It could be anything that you really trade. It could be standard deviations, it could be something else, but then you'll start looking for validation from that other person, or kind of asking for their approval when it comes to taking certain trades, or seeing if you have something anchored correctly, like the fib, for example. And that's kind of where I want to bring it to in this conversation right now, is because this week I really caught myself towards the end of the week. Obviously I also have a tendency of like going back on my own data and seeing that I kind of put myself in a hole in the beginning of the week and then have to dig myself out by the end of the week, which just means I'm just playing catch up. But specifically this week and last week I did that, and then the profits from the end of the week just literally destroyed the losses from the beginning of the week. But either way, there was something that I have been kind of studying on my own and paying attention to, specifically with the fib. I'm not going to talk about it here, but what I do want to say about it is that I didn't trust it just because I didn't know maybe if I had it anchored correctly. I would always try to look for other traders and see where they anchored their fib and see if I have it correctly, but at the same time that's not going to build that intuition. So finally on Thursday, or when it was Wednesday, on Wednesday I had an idea and I was bullish for the week and everybody else was bearish, but I was bullish because of how I anchored my fib, and I had something specifically that I only noticed, and I was like, yeah, we're going to be bullish for the rest of the week. But everybody else was like, no, we're bearish. And then I started second guessing myself and like, oh, maybe we are bearish because these people are saying they're bearish and they've been trading longer than I have. And that's a thought process that I want you to really pay attention to and see if you have it yourself and get out of that. Trust your own ability, and if you do take a loss, then just learn from that. But I ended up taking a loss on Wednesday when I could have easily took a W and ended with a green day if I would have just followed my own intuition and my own anchoring of the fib and my own trade ideas, which formed my bias. But I ended up listening to somebody else because I thought, oh, he's been trading longer than I have, maybe his idea is correct and mine isn't. And after Wednesday I was just like, you know what, I'm done with that thought process in itself. I'm gonna trust myself and I'm just gonna go with my gut and kind of that trader's intuition. And I hope you can take that and use it across all fields. It doesn't have to just be with trading, but I'm talking about trading here today. So that's basically what I wanted to say. Towards the end of the week I was just like, to heck with everybody else, I'm going with my own bias. I don't really care. And then specifically if you're in chats, and not really in my own chat in my Discord, which we'll talk about later, but I have noticed that in many different trading chats, people are just looking for signals. They're just looking for validation on certain stuff. Oh, is this correct? Da da da. And I just basically, not like I left chats, but I was just like, yeah, I'm done with it. I'm just gonna go with my own gut, and it's been working out, and I'm just gonna continue with that pace. But I don't want to talk too much before the video starts, so let's get straight into the video. All right, now we're officially starting the video. Hopefully that conversation helped and you learned something from it. But if this is your first time tuning in, my name is Lewis. I am simply just documenting my trading journey. Please make sure you follow me on Instagram, TikTok. Everything is down in the description, really. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, share with a friend who is also on their trading journey, and let me know how your trading week went down below. I kind of talked a lot in the beginning, so I'm just gonna go straight into the video and we'll go into the sponsor and then the Discord, and we'll take it from there, because it was a very good week, very interesting week. Like I said, I just continue to learn every week, and that's the thing that I want to pass on to you as well. If you're a beginner trader, don't think that in a couple years you'll have everything figured out. You always want to keep learning no matter what, whether it's something technical or it's strictly just psychological. Like my process has been for the last month or so, where I just switched my thought process away from the more technical stuff and focused on my own psychology, and it's working out. That's all I can really say. I feel a lot more confident in the market, feel a lot more confident where I anchor my fib, or where I have certain levels that I think the market is gonna turn around at, and I'm just gonna go with that. That's basically it. But let's head to the sponsor of this video and then let's get the video underway. All right, we are now in the sponsor of the video, which is, as always, Tektronix PCs. If you are looking for the best quality PCs in the market with the best parts available, make sure you check out Tektronix PCs on Instagram. As you can see here, their website is currently in the works, so please bear with them. They have been extremely helpful. I will put up a video right here, or over here, I believe it's over here on this side, where Mike helped me out with a new case and added some RAM to my PC. Everything went smoothly. After that, my CPU cooler ended up being broken, and I hit up Mike. He got everything figured out. The pieces were in about about a couple days, I had my PC back and I was right back to working and running smoothly. So big shout out to Mike from Tektronix PCs, and make sure you message them and use my discount code LVFlip for 10% off. They will help you with anything that you need, and I mean everything that has to do with PCs. So hit them up and let them know you are coming from the Lewis Visuals YouTube channel. And that's everything that I have to say. Let's head into the Discord. All right, now we are in the Discord. As always, it is a free Discord, my free Discord, and the link is down in the description. I'll probably have it in the comments as well. All that I ask is that you come in here with good energy and just keep the conversation going. We've been very active as of lately with the same people usually talking. If you're new, do not be shy and just come in here with good energy. Everybody's gonna try to help you. Specifically, if you are a beginner, like ask questions and people will help you out. If you're looking to join the premium Discord, you can get access to all of this in here. And I had something very big that I added to the premium chat, honestly, right here, that only the premium people could see, and that should help you a lot, especially if you're into standard deviations. I'm not doing one-on-one calls until the remainder of the year. Honestly, I'm just gonna focus on myself for Q4, and then maybe in Q1 I'll start that back up and help a couple of you out if you're down. But as of right now, I'm just gonna focus on myself and the community. I appreciate everybody who's joining. As you can see, the community just keeps on growing, and that's all I could really hope for and be grateful for. If you pay attention to the YouTube channel as well, we did hit some stuff, and I sent it in the announcements if I'm not mistaken. We had just hit 1550 subscribers, so I appreciate you for that. Thank you so much for subscribing. Make sure you follow me on Instagram. Let's get to 2,000 followers on Instagram as well, and I'm just extremely grateful for you. Make sure you check out the last video, as you can see already right there. Just dropped it a couple days ago. Actually, I'm recording this on Saturday. I dropped it yesterday, honestly. Yeah, that's everything I have to say about the Discord. The link is down in the description. Please join and keep the good energy and the vibes going. Now let's head into the video. All right, now we are on the charts and we can finally see what the week ended up playing up as. I had a lot of interesting things, and like I said, I'm just gonna follow my own intuition and my own way of trading, and it has been working. As you can see here, we had a Wednesday low all the way up to basically a Friday high, and then came back in a little bit with a dump on Friday, but everything ended up playing out exactly how I wanted it to for the most part. Does that mean that I didn't take any losses? I lost in the beginning of the week, and then my wins at the end of the week just ended up being so big compared to my losses that it was a good week. I will say I have noticed, like I said in the beginning of the video, I dig myself in a hole Monday and Tuesday, or Monday itself, or like just in the beginning of the week, and then I'm digging myself out of that hole by Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and just being aware of that now. I know, keep it light on Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, and then for the rest of the week, just do you, because I get into like that rhythm towards the middle of the week, and I'm sure if you've been trading for long enough, you get into that as well. But that does not mean, like, Tuesdays, I usually have really good Tuesdays, but like the past 2 weeks, they've been bad for me. So I'm just picking up on the data and trying to learn from it. But like I said, leaving a lot of money on the table just by taking losses on Monday and Tuesday instead of just minimizing those losses, I guess is the only way that I can say it. Because if I minimize those losses or don't take any losses at all by the end and middle of the week, I usually end up having a pretty good week either way. But we're just gonna go. A lot of people were complaining about price action this week and the past week. I'm like, I don't know what you guys are trading, but price has been very good to me, honestly. A lot of it has to do with just how people trade in general, and they don't understand a lot of things, but I'm gonna go with what I see and what makes sense to me. So as you can see here, from Thursday, I knew we were gonna be bullish. Everybody was like, oh no, we're gonna be bearish, especially once we came up here, like, oh, we're gonna be bearish. And I'm like, no, I'm bullish, and a lot of it has to do with this fib over here from 2 weeks ago. But either way, that's besides the point. Looking at this week and looking at last week, I'm bullish. Here we had a reversal at the -2. Reversed over here was the -3. That's the reason why we really reversed, and I was just looking at it from that standpoint. There's some stuff I'm not going to explain, but I'm expecting us, or at least to get up to the -3.5 and dump. We already did dump here at the -2 or right above it, so we'll just have to see how we move next week. But I am still a bit bullish. There could be more dip, but I'll handle that as the week goes by. As of right now, I'm just talking about what happened this week. So like I said, I was more bullish, people were bearish. I was like, and then Wednesday just confirmed to me. I was like, I'm done listening to people. I don't care what they say. Most people are unprofitable either way, so I'm just going to trust my own gut and go with that. But yeah, as you can see here, let's get into the days of the week, and then we'll just go from there. But let's hop straight into Monday the 29th. So here on Monday, you could have took a long and then into shorts. I think the shorts are probably honestly the best option on that day, and I think I was taking longs because I was, like I said, I was bullish, but that just made no sense, specifically with this here and then some higher time frame stuff. But let's head into the 15-minute and really talk about what happened. I didn't take this trade or this one. I did take these on paper in the Discord, and I will show you in the Discord. Let me just find it. Yeah, I don't have these, but I did take them on paper. I didn't send the screenshots. I thought I did, but I do remember I did take longs, and it was just completely wrong. Like I was just on the wrong side. Honestly, standard deviations up here told the story, and this was the best entry, obviously with something down here as well, and then a little something here as well that I will explain. But on the higher time frame, we had hit a fair value gap. We also hit this 15-minute fair value gap here, and then exhausting right before the all-time high. So I was like, yeah, if they dump, especially at the beginning of the week, they're just leaving generated liquidity to come and take out at the end of the week. So let's take a look on the lower time frames. Right at 9:30, they dump here and then go straight up. I was expecting them to jump a little more and then go. I was going to take the long as they turtle swoop this low, but they just moved too quickly, and then I was waiting for them to come back lower so that they could go up here, but it didn't make sense at that point because I thought this would be a breaker. Beginning of the week, like I said, we had hit a higher time frame fair value gap and hit the reversal point of the fib, so I was like, that was a stupid loss. So I just took my loss, and then I just went straight into paper trading for the rest of the day. And because like I said, there's no point of me blowing up my account in the beginning of the week and having to play catch up for the rest of the week. But as you can see, we left a 15-minute rejection block, and that is what I have marked here. Very simple, basically a 9-point stop, and you could have targeted the lows from 9:30 and caught about 128 points. It was a very, very nice trade, a very nice setup, and I had an idea specifically to take shorts, especially over here. I had an idea to take shorts, but I took a long and I ended up getting stopped out. But it's sorry, ends up happening. Like I said, we have a 5-minute and a 15-minute rejection block. They dump, come back up to the rejection block halfway point, and then they start the actual move lower, and that is basically it. Really, here we had, I believe it was a 3-minute order block for a short opportunity on that day. These are the trades that I took on demo after. I knew we were still a little bit bearish. I didn't know how far they were going to take it, so I wasn't trying to target too much, but I did take these trades. Right here we have them come back into this order block. It was a 3-minute order block. They came up and tapped it perfectly, tapped the opening price perfectly, and then they dumped. As you can see, they played around a little bit here, but they continued to dump. And then in here, I just took, I believe it was a -1 soup or a -0.5 soup on the last move of the fib, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, yeah, and I think there was an SMT at this high as well. So I just went like this, boom, -5 soup. I knew that they would come back up into the fair value gap. I thought this right here would be a breakaway gap, so if they tapped here, they would just dump. Tap there, entered a 6-point stop right there, and then targeted the -1 or the same level here for about 29 points, and then here with 54 points. These I took simultaneously, so when I took this one, I saw this setup, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna take it, especially when I saw the SMT above. I believe it was this high. Yeah, that's what happened on Monday. Hopefully you're taking notes and learning from this because it's very helpful. I wish I had somebody to teach me this stuff when I was first learning standard deviations, or be this clear when it comes to back testing, even though I'm not talking about everything. But let's move on to September 30th or Tuesday here. I took a short in here. As you can see, I will get in there closer, but this was mostly a chop fest. It wasn't very clear on what price wanted to do, which is good because I was just targeting about 50-60 points or something like that here, as you can see, with the, I think this is the weekly open. Yeah, the weekly open being the target, and I will talk about that once we get in there. But yeah, I was still a little bit bearish because I'm like, it's still the beginning of the week. They can still move a little lower, at least below the weekly open, and this was the monthly open as well. As you can see, monthly open that was showing up, so I'm like, the new month is going to open, so they're probably still going to continue lower before they keep going higher. Let's hop into the lower time frames to really see what ended up happening here. All right, so Tuesday was a break-even day because I was just taking some stupid trades early in the session, and then I realized what was really going on, and I just stuck by it. I ended up taking this short here, but I got stopped out break even, and then I ended up taking this short, and that got me back the stuff that I lost before then. If I have it, I will put it up here for the trade that I took, but it was very simple. It was just a 5-minute fair value gap entry. I knew we were still a bit bearish, and we had an SMT above this high, and if I go to the 5-minute really quickly, so you can see here, we have this 5-minute fair value gap. I know you can't really see it because of this, but that was the play. It was just a 5-minute fair value gap targeting the weekly open, and it was 62 points. It was a very simple trade. Like I said, I don't really have to explain much. I did have a fib over here that I thought we would target. this -2, and we ended up hitting that on Wednesday. But looking at this here, I didn't know if they would dump straight away to the -2, so that's why I just targeted the weekly open and then let it play out, because it was still Tuesday, and I believe we had the government shutdown here on this day on Tuesday, if it wasn't already on Monday. Or was it Wednesday? I don't remember. It was one of these days. I think it might have been Wednesday that we had the government shutdown. Excuse that. But I had this fib. I thought we would continue lower, so that's why I was targeting this -2 or shorts off of that 5-minute fair value gap. Extremely simple. It doesn't get any more simpler than this. I saw an SMT, we dumped, had a retracement back into a 5-minute fair value gap, jumped in here, stopped 10 points, and then targeted a key open, which was the weekly open. Very simple for 62 points. I don't know how to make it any more simpler, honestly. But yeah, that's what happened on Tuesday. And then as you can see, we started to move higher. When we moved higher overnight on Wednesday, I kind of had the idea like, yeah, this is where we start to turn around. But I let somebody else get inside my head, and I talked about it in my Discord. So please join the Discord. You can learn from my mistakes, because I try to be as transparent as possible, because I really just wish somebody was like that with me when I was starting out. But here, as you can see, this fib lines up perfectly with the -2.5. It also lines up perfectly with this fib over here, so that's kind of a good area to figure it was gonna retrace from. Then over here, I took these on paper. These trades here were on paper. This one I posted on my Instagram on my story if you want to see it. The long, I'll try to find it. Yeah, here as you can see, this is the long that I took. I took it, I don't know if this is the first one or the second one. I think this is just the second one that I took. Yeah, this is the first one right here, and then the second one, the one that I posted on my Instagram story, is here. I guess I'll explain them. But I noticed that we came down to this -5. We had hit a higher time frame level. I'll let you find that higher time frame level that we hit right here, and then started to just basically turn bullish, right? But I had somebody who was looking for shorts at a certain level here, and then we ran that level and then dumped and then came back up. But there's no point of trying to catch these little moves when I already knew that the higher time frame was going to hit higher, and it's just better to trade in the direction of the higher time frame. And that person was trading just looking for like the short reaction, just to get a move or get a couple points from that reaction, instead of just trading in the direction of the higher time frame, which is just better. Anyways, but let's hop into the lower time frames. As you can see here, this is all bullish in a way, but let's get in there real quickly. Here coming in, I had said this because this hadn't happened yet, so I was like, okay, this level should be interesting or should have some type of value to it. Then this happened. I'm like, dang, they're gonna leave, and I can't remember if I took, yeah, I hesitated on taking the short over here because we had a rejection block. I believe it was on the 2-minute, and I'm like, dang, I should have took it. I didn't take it, and then I watched them dump for about 60 points. This was the trade that I was looking for. I took a short here somewhere, but I think it was 817, and they went up, took me out, and then started to dump. So then I was like, okay, I'm done. Let me just watch for the rest of the day. I took my loss, and then they ended up being bullish, and this day confirmed that my idea of using the fib is correct. I know how to use it. I know how to anchor it correctly, so just trust yourself, Lewis. And then from that day forward, I was just like, all right, I'm gonna trust myself. But then I took this here, and it lined up perfectly with the weekly open, literally tapping into the tick. And then we had some news over here at 10. They dump. I take the long here, somewhere around here, I believe, and then I had my stop like here at first, and I moved it, and I was just targeting 81 points or a high from over here. I think it was this high. Yeah, it was this high that I was targeting on that long. Then if you go on something like the 5-minute, you could see the entry that I took over here. Had an idea that we would have a turtle soup before going to the higher time frame level, which was the previous week high. So I knew that this here would just be a soup inside of this 5-minute fair value gap. It was also a 15-minute fair value gap, so I said, okay, it's most likely going to use that as support and continue higher. So that's the trade that I took. Very simple. Again, I already had my bias formed, and on days like this when it's just trending, it's easy to just get into a trade and win when you're following the trend and you have a clear draw on liquidity. Like the very clear draw on liquidity was the previous week high, so that's what I targeted for 60 points, and it was all based off of this 5-minute fair value gap and the turtle soup of just internal liquidity. But that's basically what happened on Wednesday. Now let's move on to Thursday. Now these 2 days I have very good trading days. Now here on Thursday, I had these fib levels over here, and I trusted my own fib levels. I was like, yeah, it looks like a day where we just dumped. The midnight midnight open was all the way over here. We were way above midnight open in the all-time high areas. There was another level over here that I was like, I might have moved the fib a little bit or adjusted it after everything happened, but I was like, yeah, this is definitely a level where I'm confident that they're gonna reverse from. I saw them start to reverse right before 9:30. As you can see here, I'm sure there is a rejection block, but yeah, there's a rejection block here, and then we ended up having, I believe it was a change of state, but you could see this rejection block here being respected. They came into the rejection block. They didn't tap the halfway point, but they did come into it, and then they started to dump. I entered a little late, but it's okay. I knew where the market was going, and I think that is one of the most important things, is just knowing exactly where the market is going. I also noticed this change of state of delivery right here on the 1 minute and hesitated because it was right before market open, so I didn't take it, but I should have taken it, honestly. I didn't trust these. I was just using them to see where we could bounce. I was initially gonna enter in here, but I waited a little longer and took this entry, and I just targeted the midnight open this day, and it was around the area where I thought we could reverse from either way, but that is the idea. I missed my initial entry, which was the CISD up here, just because it was right before the 9:30 open. I didn't want them to come in here, soup this one more time and then dump, so I was like, I'm gonna just wait, and then I waited, and this is the entry that I got. And then I used the move here to dictate where price was gonna reverse from, and this is what I got over here, obviously having some higher time frame stuff, so I used that to form my buys for Friday. Now let's just move on to Friday. The video for Thursday popped up already, so you saw the trade, and I'll have the video pop up for Friday as well, Friday the 3rd. And I just wanted to end the week well. I got all my money basically back from Wednesday here on Thursday, and I was in the green for the week. So here on Friday, it just made it simple. I took 2 break evens, very hard break evens at that, and then I saw what ended up happening. I'm like, okay, this is what the market is doing. I followed my own intuition, I guess you can say, or my experience, and then I got a W. But let's talk about Friday really quickly. A lot of movement here, but I had this fib here. I had an idea that we would dump into this area, into the -4 area, which is this low, so I was initially targeting that. If they continue lower, you know, that's on them, but they did end up coming back for Thursday low, or a TGIF Friday setup later on in the day around 12. But this is the area where everything happened. So for me, I noticed we hit the -2 and then started to retrace, right? So I took a long off of this, off of that idea alone. I'm like, okay, I'm still kind of bullish just because I have other fib stuff over here that I'm not gonna explain in this video, but I'm like, okay, I'm a little bit bullish, so I enter this long here, and it moves very good. Excellent movement up here. I move to break even after this candle closes, then they come back down, and I'm like, dang, they're gonna stock me out, but they started to move back up. They end up taking this high and then dump completely, so that's the first break even. I'm like, dang, okay. Then I see them start to come back up, and I'm like, I should probably enter again, but I'm just gonna be patient, right? And I see them literally come back up. I was like, wow, they came down to take me out and then just pump again. While this is happening, there is an SMT with ES. If you go look at ES at the same time, you can see ES had already taken the all-time highs again, and Q hadn't. So that's why I was like, okay, let's go short over here, but I still had an idea that they could continue higher. And then once they break even, hit me with another break even here, I was like, okay, they are definitely bearish now, right? So I had the idea to take along off of the halfway point of this inverse fair value gap. I took along here. They ended up coming up and break even. Fine, it's okay, it happens, right? So then I switched my bias and I used this fib to, I love this model, honestly. Usually at the -0.5 there'll be a retracement. I noticed that there was a fair value gap here, so this was the retracement. They start to dump. I enter right away as soon as I noticed it's gonna be a breakaway gap. They're not coming back up to that unless they reverse, which they did over here, but came back to the order block. But I noticed that they were gonna dump, and I had this area like I said before, so I just targeted 50 points and they came down and took it out. Very simple, using the fibs again in higher time frame levels. I've been keeping it very simple, very clean, and I'm just gonna go with that. Honestly, I don't think that I'm just gonna completely keep dumping, but there is a chance just off of this fib over here that we do dump, and something that I saw on ES last night while I was just back testing. But that is basically everything that I have to talk about this week. Hopefully you had an amazing week. I certainly did. I had a lot of growth this week. I learned a lot, and I'm just gonna continue to get better. Like I said, trusting myself and my ideas, and then just going with that, just not caring what anybody else has to say and what their experience says, because you're not going to learn unless you really force yourself to grow. And that's what I'm doing. But hopefully you enjoy this video. Share with a friend who's also on the trading journey. And like I said, let me know how your week went down in the comments. If you like what I'm doing in the beginning of the video, let me know as well by leaving a like and leave a comment in the comment section. Check out Tektronix for 10% off. Use LV Flip. Join the Discord with the link in the description. And that's basically all that I have to really say. Hope you guys have an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.